Hi, I wanted to talk about choosing wood, and hopefully we'll get to a point about difficulty in carving wood. I offer for sale cherry, and this is not the most red that I've seen, but cherry, butternut, and walnut. And I have offered other things in the past, and these were the only ones that I really thought were worth our time to use. Butternut is, so far as I'm concerned, and this is for me to carve, butternut is almost as soft as basswood, and it carves very easily. And this is one way, and I think it's much more difficult to hollow out the bowl of a spoon. But I think butternut, to my way of thinking, is ideal because it's relatively easy to cut and carve, and it's still a pretty attractive piece of wood. You know, the reason I say that is because its closest relative and what most wood carvers use for carving birds and characters and things like that is basswood, which is about the same hardness as butternut. But it works, and it's still attractive. I did for a while sell basswood spoon blanks, and it's just, what makes it so easy to carve is not only its hardness, but it has like no grain, which also ends up with your spoon. Your finished product is pretty boring and not very pretty. So this is walnut, and walnut and cherry have about the same hardness, which is significantly harder than butternut. But at the end of the whole thing, you end up with a much more attractive finished product. And I don't know. I think my favorite to carve is butternut, and my favorite finished spoons are all cherry. But we can take a look. Let's just look at walnut. It works. And the other thing is, you know, these are starter kits, and most of you, I think, have never tried to use a hook knife or carve a spoon before. And you will develop some hand strength. So this is cherry, and you can see I'm getting these short little chips with a great deal of effort, as opposed to butternut. So that's the quandary. And when I sell kits, I always sell them with butternut. And I think you will find that that's a good idea. But it's a lot of work to carve out the bowl of a spoon, especially when you get to some of the harder woods. And maple is just ridiculous. You wouldn't want to get anywhere near that. You'll develop a little bit of skill after time, and you'll get a little bit stronger over time. But a lot of people, I think, get frustrated by how difficult it is to carve initially. So what I do when I run into something that's particularly hard to carve is I wrap it in a wet paper towel, stick it in an old bread bag or a Ziploc, and let it sit overnight. This stuff is also all kiln dried, and you'll find that it's much easier to carve when you add a little bit of moisture back in. You know, difficulty of carving also has to do with how deep a cut you're going to make. But moistening your wood, and this also, I think, gives you a better idea of what your finished spoon will look like when you put the actual finish on it. I thought I had an example of each, and I'm not sure I see them. So that's moistened butternut. And from the look of it, and we're getting tannins from the wood are coming through. And, you know, it will give you about, yeah, this is much, much easier. It will, once you get down and in, you'll hit dry wood again. And if I were you, I would suggest that you put it back in a wet paper towel in a bread bag and work it from there. And you can see how dark walnut is. And it's still even the new wood, which hasn't oxidized yet, the stuff that I'm carving into. But it makes it much easier than carving it just dry as it comes. And that is walnut. And I think I found my cherry. And here is cherry. You know, so what I think I want to leave you with is that there's a choice between ease of carving and finished beauty. Butternut is also much lighter. And there are some things to help you along the way. Well, I think that's most of what we talked about. The three choices we have are, and this wet stuff gives you a better idea of cherry, walnut, or butternut. And those are pretty much the color that the finished spoon will be after we hit it with some mineral oil and beeswax. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.